So a jury finds Walmart responsible for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act for firing a woman with Down syndrome who had been an outstanding employee of theirs. Despite the jury's finding, though, the award is going to be reduced by 99.8%. What's going on here? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video and subscribe to this channel and maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So if you're somebody who's looking for justice after you've been wronged by corporate bad actions, well, the American justice system is no longer a place to find that. Take the example of a woman with Down syndrome who is fired from Walmart. Now, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires employers to make reasonable accommodations to help people with disabilities to be able to work and contribute to society. Now, this case involves Marlo Spaeth, a woman with Down syndrome who'd worked at Walmart for more than 15 years in Wisconsin. She was an outstanding employee, always showing up on time, always getting her work done, and making sure that her corner of the store was spotless, according to records. For 15 years, she received positive performance reviews and several pay raises. One day, Walmart, following the pattern of so many retailers out there who have no concern for people's personal schedules, suddenly decided that they were going to change her schedule by, about an hour and a half. Now, people with Down syndrome require some certainty, some regularity in their schedule. When there are sudden changes to their schedule, it makes them very nervous. This is a well-known characteristic of people with Down syndrome. Frankly, it's part of what made Miss Spaeth an outstanding employee. She always showed up on time. She always made sure she got her job done. She was never late. Exactly what an employer would want, right? Well, after this sudden and arbitrary time change by Walmart occurred, and despite repeated pleas from Miss Spaeth's family to please go back to her regular schedule, pleas which Walmart completely ignored, and which frankly would have been a minor inconvenience at such a major corporation, Walmart ended up firing Miss Spaeth. Poor Miss Spaeth, when she was fired, she was in tears, not understanding what was going on. And she wasn't the only one in tears. The manager who was tasked with firing her was also in tears. It's a real tragedy all around. Walmart, though, being such a huge, nameless, faceless corporation, didn't care. So one might think that's what the courts are for, right? Well, you'd be wrong, unfortunately. The jury, after hearing all the evidence, decided that Walmart was in clear violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act's requirements that they provide reasonable accommodations to people with disabilities. As a result of their finding, the jury awarded Miss Spaeth $150,000 in compensatory damages and $125 million in punitive damages. Now, you might think $125 million, that's an outrage, but you have to remember what the role of punitive damages is. The role of punitive damages is to try to get companies to change their behavior. The one thing that corporations will understand and will make them change their behavior is having to pay money. Frankly, $125 million in such a huge company is a minor inconvenience for them, but it's enough at least that they'd pay attention. Thanks, though, to lobbying by corporations, however, there has been such a thing called Tort Reform, which has made it so that Miss Spaeth, despite the jury's finding, is only entitled to $300,000. Now, you might say $300,000 is a lot of money, but you have to remember, a good portion of that is going to go to her attorneys. Another portion will be for taxes. And given the fact that it's going to be hard for Miss Spaeth to find another job that she can adjust to, it leaves her very little money to live on going forward. And it's really a loss both to Walmart and to society as a whole, who've lost the great industry of this person who really can contribute something. So you might say, well, $300,000 is still a lot of money. Maybe that will get Walmart to change their behavior. But you have to understand, Walmart makes $300,000 every 17 seconds. $300,000 would be like you having to drop a couple pennies into the box. The irony is that the whole tort reform movement is based upon the case of Stella Liebeck, the 79-year-old woman who sued McDonald's back in 1992 for burns she sustained from her hot coffee that was spilled on her. Now people say, well, what an outrage. She was awarded nearly $3 million because a cup of hot coffee spilled on her. But the entire argument about this case being frivolous are based upon lies about what actually happened. Stella Liebeck actually only wanted $20,000 to cover her medical bills, and McDonald's was only willing to give her $800. And these medical bills were sustained as a result of serious burns she received when her car was parked and she spilled coffee over herself. And McDonald's, ironically, knew about the fact that the coffee was too hot to the point where it would burn people and specifically had made a decision to keep it hot so that they could sell crappy coffee to people without people realizing it. And again, this is an example of punitive damages being used to try to get a corporation to change their bad behavior. McDonald's, according to the jury, made about $1.3 million a day from the sale of coffee. So they figured they'd award 2 days worth of coffee sales to Miss Liebeck in an attempt to get McDonald's to try to be more careful. And the judge in that case, by the way, even after reducing the award down to $480,000, said that McDonald's had engaged in, quote, willful, wanton, and reckless behavior. So again, this was an example of punitive damages being used as a way to try to get corporations to be responsible and to be thoughtful about the people who they're serving. Maybe next time, before Walmart arbitrarily changes the schedule for someone with Down syndrome, they'll think twice about it. That would be a good thing, good for society as a whole. But with only pennies at stake as far as Walmart's concerned, which is what $300,000 is, they'll write that off. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they spent more than $300,000 on their legal fees defending the case. American society needs to stop demonizing people who have been hurt and then sue corporations to try to get some kind of remedy. We've created a situation now where people are legitimately hurt, have nowhere they can go to try to get some kind of relief. Corporations can behave as badly as they want without fear that they're going to be subject to any kind of penalties. Well, if you're outraged about this as I am, well, there is a solution, and that solution is to get Congress to make changes. And the way to do that is by contacting your congressman and demanding action. Well, if you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you could like this video and subscribe to this channel, that'd be a huge help. I'll see you in the next video. And in the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.